On May 26, 1920, in the prairie town of Jamestown, North Dakota, Norma Dolores Eggstrom came into the world beneath a wide sky and humble means. Her father, Marvin, was a railroad station agent. Her mother, Selma, held the family together with gentleness and quiet strength. But Norma's childhood was fractured too early. Selma died when the girl was just 4 years old. In the wake of her mother's passing, Norma's life was reshaped by hardship, instability, and cold silences. Her father remarried a woman whose cruelty would shadow Norma's formative years. The household in Wimbledon, North Dakota grew colder, not just from the brutal winters that swept across the plains, but from the emotional austerity within its walls. Her stepmother subjected her to humiliation and neglect, yet through that pain, something inside Norma remained unbroken. In moments of stillness, she clung to the comfort of music, gospel songs, folk ballads, and the voices from a crackling radio filled the vacuum of affection. By the time she was in her teens, Norma had already discovered the power of song, not just to entertain, but to survive. She began singing professionally on KOVC, a local radio station, at the age of 14. Her voice, warm and restrained, seemed to carry secrets. A local businessman who heard her performance helped her land a spot on WDAY in Fargo. There, a program director named Ken Kennedy gave her the name Peggy Lee. It was the beginning of a transformation, an escape not just from North Dakota, but from a childhood that had long refused to love her. Determined to chase her dream, she boarded a train to California, where the promise of music shimmered beyond the palm trees. She found work at a shortwave radio station, paid almost nothing but gaining precious exposure. Singing in nightclubs and on the air, she developed a style that would come to define her. Instead of belting, she leaned into the microphone, creating an intimate conversation with the listener. Her quiet power was deliberate, and audiences were drawn in as if by spell. Her breakthrough came in 1941 when she joined Benny Goodman's band. Goodman, known for his precision and perfectionism, was immediately captivated by her phrasing and poise. Her first major recording with the orchestra, "Why Don't You Do Right," became a massive hit in 1943. The song's smoky defiance and her simmering delivery turned heads in an industry crowded with bigger voices and louder personalities. But Peggy never shouted. She whispered, purred, caressed each lyric until it bloomed. As the 1940s ended, she embarked on a solo career that placed her among the most respected voices in American music. Working closely with her first husband, guitarist Dave Barber, she crafted a series of songs that blended jazz, pop, blues, and Latin rhythms. "It's a Good Day," co-written with Barber, captured the optimistic post-war spirit, while "Mañana Is Soon Enough for Me" showcased her humor and rhythmic instinct. The latter became Capitol Records' biggest-selling single for a time. Her marriage to Barber was rich in creative chemistry, but plagued by his struggles with alcohol. They divorced in 1951. Peggy was devastated. Despite their split, she never stopped loving him. When Barber died, in 1965, she collapsed with grief. Their daughter, Nikki, remained a central focus of her life. Peggy poured herself into motherhood even as her career demanded near-constant travel and reinvention. In the 1950s and early 1960s, she dominated the charts with songs like Fever, Lover, Golden Earrings, and Big Spender. Each one revealed a different facet of her artistry, sultry, theatrical, playful, or aching. Her rendition of Fever, accompanied by little more than finger snaps and bass, became a landmark in minimalist arrangement. Her control of tempo, intonation, and mood turned that sparse recording into a masterclass of subtlety. But she wasn't just a singer. Peggy Lee was a songwriter, arranger, and composer. She penned lyrics for hundreds of songs, many in collaboration with Barber, Sonny Burke, and Victor Young. She co-wrote 6 songs for Disney, Lady and the Tramp, 1955. Even voicing several characters, she played the sultry canine Peg, the Siamese cats, and various background voices, all with personality and wit. When Disney re-released the film in the 1980s, without compensating her for her work, she took them to court and won, changing the precedent for performer royalties. Offstage, Peggy was fiercely intelligent and deeply private. She read philosophy, studied religion, and wrote poetry. Friends described her as enigmatic, warm and loyal to those she trusted, but difficult to truly know. Her relationships were passionate, but often short-lived. She married 4 times, including a brief union with actor Dewey Martin and a stormy relationship with Jack Del Rio. None lasted. Music remained her most faithful partner. As the music industry evolved, Peggy adapted without ever chasing fads. The rock era arrived, but she held her ground, experimenting with new sounds while retaining her signature elegance. In the 1960s and 70s, she worked with arrangers like Quincy Jones and recorded albums that touched on soul, gospel, and even psychedelia. Her voice aged like whiskey, mellower, darker, deeper. Her health began to falter in the 1980s. She battled diabetes, heart trouble, and complications from years of grueling schedules. Multiple surgeries and hospitalizations followed, including a double bypass. Still, she performed. Confined to a wheelchair in her later concerts, she remained magnetic. Audiences watched with awe as she sang, seated and fragile, yet delivering each lyric with purpose and presence. She received numerous honors, including a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award and induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. But what mattered most to her wasn't plaques or ceremonies, it was the connection to the audience. She once said, "People don't listen to lyrics anymore, but that's where the meaning is." For Peggy, every word mattered, every pause was chosen, every sigh was earned. Her final years were spent largely in seclusion. In her Bel Air home, she surrounded herself with books, tapestries, and the people she trusted most. She wrote poetry and memoirs, reflected on her journey, and shared time with her daughter and grandchildren. Despite her fame, she never became unreachable. She replied to fan letters, encouraged young singers, and remained curious until the end. Peggy Lee died on January 21, 2002 in Los Angeles at the age of 81. The cause was complications from diabetes and a heart attack. News of her death traveled quickly. Artists across genres, jazz, pop, cabaret, paid tribute. Radio stations revisited her recordings. Film retrospectives revived her performances. But nothing could replicate the presence she had brought to the stage. The quiet command, the unexpected fire, the delicate ache behind every phrase. Her funeral was modest by celebrity standards, attended by family and a few close friends, but fans around the world marked her passing with their own tributes by playing her songs, sharing memories, or watching the old black-and-white footage where she swayed gently behind a microphone, eyes closed, lost in the music. Peggy Lee's story is one of resilience, transformation, and a devotion to craft that spanned 6 decades. She rose from a small railroad town to become one of the most revered singers of her generation. She did it not with flash or scandal, but with grace, precision, and authenticity. What she left behind wasn't simply a discography, it was a lesson in restraint, a blueprint for how emotion can be delivered without volume, and how a whisper can carry farther than a shout.